Welcome back, viewers, to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio, that is I. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on this series of scientific testing of supernatural claims which believers like to tell us as atheists, that their God exists and so forth. So we discussed about what Stephen Jay Gould said many years ago of the non-overlapping magisteria, on how religion is over here and science is over here. But actually, they do overlap. Science can refute, can debunk, and can test these supernatural claims in the Bible, okay? So today we're going to discuss prayer. I get this from Christians all the time. Prayer works. Prayer is effective. The prayer of a righteous person availeth much. So let's look at prayer. And the claims, again, are made that prayer is effective. So where does this claim come from? The Bible. There's a scripture in James chapter 5. I'm going to read it. In fact, when I do my activism with Christians, I make a mistake by quoting the Bible. So I think I'd rather just read it. I've had believers say, well, David, I've never heard that scripture before. Well, I'm going to read it for you right from the Bible. Let's look at James chapter 5 and verse 13. It says, "Is there any of you that are suffering? Then he must pray." Well, I would say if you're suffering, do more than just pray. Go ahead and help somebody, alleviate their suffering. So it said, go ahead and pray. "Is there any among you that is sick? Let him call for the elders of the church, and they are to pray over him." So here's some supernatural claims in the natural world that are open for scientific investigation and testing. "And the prayer offered in faith." Now here's a claim. "The prayer offered in faith will heal and restore the one who is sick." Really? "And the Lord will raise him up." The effective prayer of a righteous person can accomplish much. So, a claim that can be tested. Let's test it. Now, the evidence and proof for many believers is the next verse in the Epistle of James, where it says, "Elijah was a man with a nature like ours. He prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain in the earth for 3.5 years. Then he prayed again, and the sky poured down rain. The earth produced its fruit." So, absurd, of course. These are supernatural claims that can be tested. So, how do we test prayer? Empirical evidence. Interesting to know that there have been many tests, many scientific tests on the efficacy of prayer to see if it's really, really effective. So let me read for you a particular test. Some of you already know about this one. This is a good one. There was the therapeutic effects of intercessory prayer. Now, intercessory prayer is, of course, when a believer prays for another person, either for healing or miracles or whatever. Christian groups prayed for patients recovering from coronary artery bypasses at 6 U.S. hospitals. They prayed for some patients, but not for others. The test was double-blind, which means that neither the patients nor the medical staff knew which patients were the targets of the prayers. This gets interesting. The study found that patients were the targets of prayers, that they knew that their patients were targets of the prayers. The study found that there was no statistically significant difference in complication rates between those patients from whom prayers were said and the others. No significant evidence. So these things can be tested. There are many other studies done in particular hospitals on the efficacy of prayer. Studies at Duke University, Harvard University, and Mayo Clinic. The experiments have found nada, zero. Nada and zero means none. Zero evidence that prayer works. Now, I know these are anecdotes. I know that believers give anecdotal evidence all the time. Anecdotes are short stories or episodes, supposedly true, testimonial in nature. But to my believing friends out there, when claims are made, divine claims, supernatural claims, and they enter into the natural world, science is now there to test it, to see if it's true. So prayer, no evidence that it works, been tested over and over again. So we're going to continue on this episode on the testing of supernatural claims. So thanks a lot for watching the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio.